Welcome to the Scoop, Order. Happy Sunday. A nice victory Sunday for the Buckeyes. A huge one versus Purdue yesterday. A lot of guys played. We're going to break down some film. Some exotic new pass rush stuff coming from Jim Knowles, which I think is excellent. Very hard to go against. I can't wait to show it to you guys. We'll break down a little bit of the offense and take your questions. As always, if you guys have any questions, reminder, tomorrow is Veterans Day. Again, we got to thank our military members, along with our people that are protecting this country, our police officers, firefighters, first responders, but especially tomorrow, our veterans. It's a huge day, maybe the most important holiday because it's, without our military, I don't know if any of the other holidays can exist. So thank you. We know what you guys do. We know that you guys keep us safe, often in silence. And we appreciate you guys, especially those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Again, we love the military around here. We talk about it constantly. We appreciate it. Again, with our super chats, they go into Pay It Forward. With Pay It Forward, we have signed up a ton of new military members to BuckeyeScoop.com, which is our concierge premium experience message board, which gives you direct access to Nevadabuck, myself, Bill Greene, and a slew of other staff members. Again, it's an outstanding experience. We love being on there. We're on there all day. We get all of our written stuffs up there. A lot of back and forth. If you guys like this chat, the message board, a lot of you guys have jumped over to the message board and have been great ads and have really seen what I'm talking about, how it is a great experience to be on there. So we appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys for being on here on your Sunday night. Again, if you want to do something huge for us, continue to support us on Apple Podcasts. Get on your iPhone, get on your iPad, click on your podcast app, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. It's completely free. It's a great way for you to support us. It doesn't cost you anything. And we're trying to grow our audio side because our audio side is way behind our YouTube side. It's being very transparent. And again, I just appreciate you guys helping us out because we know that this is a video first podcast, but supporting the audio really helps us out a lot. So again, thank you guys for that. Follow us on Spotify, any podcast platform. They're all free. You can follow us on all of them for free, and it's a huge help to us. So with that being said, going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, we've had a chance to rewatch the game, digest some stuff, kind of look at some analytical stuff that we've seen. I love everything about yesterday. I love that Carson Hinsman dodged kind of a scary knee deal. Thank God for knee braces and his Don Joyce because it saved him. I'll show you that play. And, I really like a lot of the scheme stuff that we're doing that's different with Jim Knowles. You can tell that a lot of times, when there's issues or they're trying to figure out new ways to do pressure, they study other teams and they grab pieces from other programs that might be successful, pressures, different packages, different ways to use the defensive ends. And they did that. And I'm going to break that down. But what are your thoughts? Because I think that Jim Knowles is really dialed in right now. And again, the second thing I'm going to say to that is we have adjusted the scheme a little bit. But as we get deeper into the Big Ten and we're not playing Akron and some of the Maxwells, these teams hold on to the ball a lot longer. So, when you look at some of these sacks that we got versus Purdue, they thought that they could block our guys, which is very obviously incorrect. And their quarterback held onto the ball too long a couple times. So we got them to the ground. And I think that that's an adjustment because I know that we beat our defensive linemen to death when they don't get to the quarterback. But a lot of these Akron and these MAC schools, they get rid of it fast because they just know that they can't block our defensive line. So they toss it out of there. But, we got home a few times and there's a lot of pressure yesterday. What were your thoughts on the performance overall?
Well, the best thing about the day to me was the no injuries and the fact that we got so many guys reps. That was something that was, when you look at the play counts, a bunch of the backups played more than the starters. And I think, I don't really think people really fully understand how important that is to the morale of the team, to the practice. Everything in the room's better when guys are getting a chance to play. And there's nothing more demoralizing than go out there and busting your butt out there on the practice field and the game time comes along and they just play the starters the whole way and you just sit there and suck out a water bottle or eat an orange at halftime or whatever it is. And the fact that they got so many guys in, especially on defense, huge rotations on defense, I think that's going to pay big dividends. Not only in terms of building depth down the road, but just in terms of just the way that this team approaches it and comes together as a team, because I think that was a major criticism of Ryan Day, of Jim Knowles, the entire defensive staff, is they didn't rotate guys enough. And I love it when they're able to do that in a game. They clearly had made up their mind. They were putting in a bunch of guys on the third series or second or whichever one it was. And they did it. They stuck to the plan, even though the game at that time wasn't, it wasn't 47-0. The game was still 7-0 or whatever it was. And in doubt, put the guys in, kind of live with the results. The jack was kind of an interesting experiment. On second viewing and third viewing, it wasn't as bad as it appeared on the first thing. The guys were in positions to make plays and just didn't several times. But I am certainly not advocating for the jack. I'm the furthest thing away from a jack supporter. I think you've got to stick with your 4 down linemen, and that seemed to shut off the spigot immediately with Purdue. But no, just a good game all around from a morale standpoint, from a building standpoint. And you had the AP poll come out today, and you see 4 Big Ten teams in the top 5. Now, I think some of that has to do with you've got an 18-team league, and a lot of these teams just don't play anybody, and so they dodge the opportunity to lose. But right now, Big Ten teams are at 1. Obviously, Oregon 2, Ohio State 4, Penn State, and 5 Indiana. And the Ohio State's heading in after Northwestern's heading into their 3rd top 5 matchup in 6 games, 2 of the 3 on the road. I don't know if that's ever happened, but can you remember a time ever having that Ohio State played 3 top 5 teams in a 6-game span? I sure can.
I mean, not in my lifetime. I mean, there might have been a time, 1,000 years ago, but like in my lifetime, no, absolutely not. I think this is going to be a good stretch for the boys, because again, we'll be pretty heavy favorites throughout the course of it. I mean, I think I'd imagine we'd be at least 14-point favorites over Indiana. I know that they're undefeated, but they didn't exactly light the world on fire yesterday versus a bad Michigan team. And I think that, once the talent avalanche of Ohio State shows up to the door, it's going to be a different story than beating FIU and, Washington and UCLA, whoever I mean, it's just like, again, I look at their schedule. They dodge. You look at, like, if we just swap schedules, then we'd be the unanimous number 1 team in the country right now. So we wouldn't have played anybody. We wouldn't have played at Outson. We wouldn't have played at Penn State. So I don't know. I mean, I think that they're absolute fool's gold. I think they're a good coach, good program. I'm sure that they're not going to get smashed by the voters when we go in there when we just violate them. So I think that the talent gulf is going to be humongous in that game between Ohio State and Indiana. And again, it's something I've learned from studying like European soccer is not all records are created equal. If a team's undefeated and you look at their schedule and they've played the worst part of the league, and then there's a team that's got a couple losses or they got a loss and they've played the top part of the league, like that's not the same. So I always like to see who people have beaten, who they've played. But yeah, this is a time where there's separation between, the pretenders and the contenders, and there's going to be attrition. I mean, we saw Georgia get knocked off yesterday, and there were a lot of people that had them as the number 1 team in the country, and that's a team that, like if you said, Kirk, gun to your head, what are a couple of teams that if you could avoid them in the playoffs, I'd say probably Georgia, probably Texas, and Oregon. I think those are the 3 best teams in the country outside of Ohio State. But, Georgia's offense is kind of whatever. And did they peak after they beat Texas? Maybe. Again, that's the thing about. Yeah, I told people
I got a question. I hate to interrupt you, but do you think Georgia's going to make the playoff? Gun to your head, does Georgia make the playoff?
I don't know the rest of their schedule offhand. I don't. Do you?
It's not for. I mean, I think they've got Tennessee, but I think it's at Georgia. But then they'd have to play in the SEC championship game.
And one again.
If they lose that, if they've got 3 losses, does a 3-loss Georgia team make it into the top 12?
I don't know. I mean, Tennessee's gonna. I mean, that's not gonna be a walk in the park. It's like, I don't know, but I mean, that's the new normal. I mean, they've got Tennessee, Massachusetts, and Georgia Tech. So they'll ask me after next Saturday, because if they get through Tennessee, then I think they have a shot. I mean, they're as good as any team in the SEC, but there isn't a juggernaut in the SEC. I mean, we saw Alabama lose to Vanderbilt, then smash LSU in the same, month, basically. So,
but if Alabama and Georgia, both the 2 losses, play each other in the SEC championship game, one of those teams, by definition, is going to lose. So one of those teams is going to pick up their third loss. So, does a 3-loss SEC team make it in the top 12?
I don't think so. I mean, not when you've got like you'll have like a one-loss Army team, and you have like some one-loss group of 5 teams, and I mean, I don't know, but again, like
Georgia or Alabama is going to get left out this year. I'm telling you, they're going to get Georgia or Alabama, which is crazy in a 12-team playoff. It's crazy to think that, but I really think that's going to happen. And when we looked at their schedule preseason, we talked about that because Georgia's schedule has not been easy, man.
I mean, you got at Alabama, at Texas, Clemson, Florida, at Ole Miss, versus 10. I mean, that's the hardest schedule in the country, other than maybe Florida. I mean, you got Clemson, at Kentucky, which isn't great, at Bama versus Auburn. Mississippi State's terrible, but then at Texas, Florida between the hedges, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I mean, that's ungodly hard because you're playing like real teams, like real athletes, and real stadiums too. When you got to go to, Tuscaloosa and to Texas, like those aren't easy places to play. But we'll see. I mean, if they if they don't make it, then I don't know what Ryan Day has to do to win a national title because this is it. This is the year. Georgia's out. I think Texas is going to be good. They're going to be a tough out, but they're vulnerable. We could beat them. I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is why the playoffs are going to be amazing because it's. BYU was beat last night, and the gods of the Big 12 let them win last night. I mean, I don't know if you saw Utah's athletic director go ballistic last night, but it was hilarious. It was great. I mean, they robbed Utah last night. It was BYU was done. So I pray every day to God that we're the 5 seed and that we somehow play Boise State and BYU en route to the national championship. That would be the easiest slate in the history of mankind. So when you talked about that 5 seed being the meta, you couldn't have been more right. You play the worst, the 12 seed, then you play the 4 seed, and then you're in the title game. And I'm like, yeah, you nailed that one. I mean, that is the best spot to be in the entire deal. Skip the Big Ten title, which it does look like it's going to happen. So we'll beat Indiana, and we'll be. I don't know, but I don't know what the tiebreaker is. If Indiana has a loss, we have a loss, and Penn State has a loss. So I don't know, but I don't really care. We'll be in the playoffs, and that 5 seed, I would pay to get that 5 seed. That's the best spot. Yeah, but this is who would you pick? Gun to your head today. If the SEC title is Bama, Georgia, who are you picking?
I'm picking Bama.
Running quarterback.
Running quarterback. I just don't think Georgia's very good. I mean, watching Georgia, man, I just tell you, I know they got a lot of hype, and I know they've got a lot, clearly a lot of talented guys, a lot of future NFL guys, but and their quarterback's not very good.
No, he was a preseason Heisman favorite.
He's just not very good. Period.
No.
End. So, yeah, well, it'll be a fun playoff. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out, and for Ohio State, the season, the right way to approach a season like this is a slow build. Come up, do your thing, be playing your best football at the end of the year. Get your team together. Try to be as healthy as you possibly can. And I just think things are shaping up really nicely for Ohio State because if we're honest, after watching 9 games, we have not played a complete game yet. We have not played a game where it's all come together on both sides of the ball. But we're due. I mean, that will happen at some point in time. And when that happens, that's going to be problematic for whoever we're playing. But you can see the defense getting better. The defense right now, I put up a stat on the board today. The defense has given up a little bit over 3 points a game in the second half, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. It speaks. And this defense has just got an uncanny ability to rise up around the goal line and stop teams. They've done it all year long, and that's a great attribute for a defense. That's certainly an attribute for a championship defense. And I think for Ohio State, I think it's all starting to come together. And I think the Indiana game is going to be perfect. It's a perfect thing to kind of razor sharp, focus the team before the Michigan game, getting ready to go into Oregon. And I can't. We're really getting into the meat of the schedule now after this Northwestern game. We've got one more preseason game at Wrigley Field, and then after that, man, there's no jokes. There might be some jokes, but they're all serious games. They all matter, and they're all certainly worth watching.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that we've got a nice, I don't want to say it's an easy finish with Indiana and Michigan, but like, if you give me I watched every snap of Indiana, and I think they're a nice team. They're a nice story, but they're going to turn into a pumpkin when they come to the shoe. And let's get serious now. Like, they don't have a single guy that we want. Like, not one guy. There's not a single guy that Ryan Day offered a scholarship to on that team, and it shows. Like, Michigan has higher rated talent. They just have the worst quarterback play in the United States. And they're just so poorly coached. But they were in that game. If they didn't have the worst quarterback in the United States, then maybe they'd have a shot. But again, that's on Sherrone Moore. In the era of the portal, with the endowment that those guys have, it's a joke that they couldn't find a quarterback. We went out and got one. We went out and got hard. Hell, they could have had Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord's better than that guy. But they didn't want him. So again, it's stunning when you look at their downfall, but it's predictable, and I love it. It's kind of like looking at Florida. Florida State's lost 9 straight, which is fascinating at this point. But let's break down a little bit of this pass rush. We're starting to get a couple super chats in, so we'll break down some of this. But this is some of the stuff we're doing. We're just running some one here. So you've got everyone's basically manned up across the board here. Hang on one second. Let me get this reloaded. Give me a little freeze job here. But I love some of the pass rush stuff. A guy that we're really starting to feature in the blitzing is Cody. And Cody Simon is a guy who, again, there's archived thoughts of Cody Simon that we wrote years ago where we said that he could be the next A.J. Hawk. Now, he's obviously nowhere near A.J. Hawk. This is when he was a freshman, so that's a pretty big call. Obviously, A.J. turned into the top 5 pick, but Cody, he's never going to be A.J. Hawk, but he has some traits that are like A.J. Hawk. Like, he has elite speed, like A.J. A.J. was a 4.4 guy, and Cody's probably a 4.5 guy. Physical, explosive blitzer, can get home and get to the quarterback. A lot like A.J. A.J. was a fantastic blitzer at Ohio State. I used to go against him. And the guys that are evasive and quick and can get home, and they have that knack. And A.J. was as good as we've ever had. But here's Cody, and this is just a 1. So 1 is basically we're just manned up across the board here. You got Sonny here on the back. You got your safety deep. Caleb's got the tight end. So it's basically 1, and then you just run. Pretty simple game here. But what's interesting is I've talked for a long time about how our end needs to be able to go inside versus the tackle. So what's Jackson Warrior do? He actually is allowed to use an inside move. And how do we protect, contain when you let Jackson Warrior go inside, which is something I've been screaming about. Let him take an inside path. You loop Cody out to be the contain guy. So Cody, he ends up rushing outside. And again, this tackle is like, oh my God, these guys are taking an inside move. I've never seen that before. So Cody is out here. You got Sonny here. You got Cody here. And again, JT is a straight speed rush around the edge. Quarterback hangs onto the ball. And JT and Cody both meet at the quarterback. So again, this is a change. Because again, I was very critical about the fact that these guys were cage rushing on the edge every single time, like Velcro, and it was terrible. And now Jack takes an inside path. It kind of gets mucked up, but it frees Cody up because Cody's a contained player, and then he just keeps on rushing, and they meet at the quarterback for a sec. And again, he holds the ball here. And again, this is something early in the season. 1, 2, 3. The ball is out about a 1.6 seconds early in the season. Literally, that was what the analytics said. Here it's about a 3 count, and our guys can get home. So again, I love this. I love giving Jack the ability to take an inside course. He doesn't get there, but it frees Cody up. So because sometimes, when you scheme a pass rush, you guys see me draw run plays all the time where you see me pull the guard and, down block and double team and all that. It's kind of the same thing with a pass rush kind of schedule. When you're drawing up, like what could this look like? Okay, if you give Jack the ability for basically a 2-way go where he can go inside or outside, he could hit a spin if he'd like to, and then he has no contain responsibility. It opens up his entire palette of pass rush moves, which is amazing for a guy like Jack, because Jack and JT, I think, are very talented pass rushers. Now, the numbers don't reflect it, and people will throw tomatoes at me virtually for saying that, but I've seen their twitch, and I'll show some of Jack. Jack was getting off the ball. He was flying yesterday. So was JT, and those guys, they're going to be really good NFL players. And I think once they get to the league, their sack numbers will slowly rise because all of a sudden, watch NFL football, folks, and watch how long these quarterbacks throw. They hold the ball in the league. you get Jack versus one of these bad practice squad tackles, and he's going against Caleb Williams, who holds the ball for 9 seconds and gets sacked 10 times a game, and magically the sack numbers go up. So I think him and JT are going to be great pros. I think JT to me is a guy in his optimal scenario would do what Edric Houston is doing this year. Like Edric Houston, I think, is going to be a fantastic 3 technique. I thought he was really good yesterday, especially for his first real game action as a true freshman playing 3 technique. Like, when you're playing D tackle in the Big Ten, I mean, that's a man's game. Like that's a man's position. Like you can't be a little puppy and be in there as a 3 tech, because you're going to get banged around by double teams, and centers are going to be chipping on you. I mean, it's not a fun place to be. Playing D tackle in the Big Ten is miserable, because you're going to get double teamed a lot. You're going to hit a lot, and it's a physical position. But he looked good, man, and he shocks guys with his hands. I love the move. I hope the kid eats it up and embraces it and says, like, I can be a first round 3 technique. Like if Mike Hall can go second round, Edric can go first round. Like I think Edric's got more to him than Mike. I think he's better against the run already than Mike was. He's not as explosive as Mike yet in the pass rush, but he's more stout. You can tell that. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, I think something that I give Jim Knowles credit for is, obviously he got a lot of gruff about the pass rush and the cage rush and Ryan Day, how do we get the pressure up? And he fixed it. And magically now we've got some really, really good-looking pressure packages where it accentuates our guys' skills, and we're getting the quarterback on the ground. And there's a lot of plays where we don't sack him, but we affect his throw. And to me, that's just as good. As long as he doesn't complete the ball and it's an incompletion or it's an ephus ball or whatever, like, or he's out of the pocket and he doesn't get anything done. To me, that's as good. Obviously, a sack's the best, but if you pressure him and get him off of his, where he's trying to throw from, I think that's just as helpful for the defense as anything. What are your thoughts?
Well, you can see how quickly these packages came out. They've been practicing this stuff a long time. This was strictly a philosophical change on behalf of Ryan Day, where he allowed him to play more pressure packages in return for an understanding that you may give up more explosives, and that was a come to Jesus moment that they had after the Oregon game, where they talked about this. But you see how quickly these pressure packages come together. It's not like they haven't had the stuff ready. They've had it ready. They just haven't dialed it up because they wanted to play a more conservative approach. They've had a conservative approach that's been very effective. We've talked about it many, many times about how good the numbers have been over the past 2 years. But they voted, well, I guess one vote. Ryan's the one that mattered on an approach that emphasized pressure. Now, pressure doesn't just necessarily mean bringing more guys or just blitzing it every time. And, I don't know how much of the breakdowns we have, but they're doing a lot of the dropping the defensive ends, into the flat while, rushing it from the other side and, trying to overwhelm them with numbers. There's lots of different ways you can overwhelm with numbers that don't necessarily mean just bringing more guys than they have. If you bring more guys than they have on one side of the ball, you can kind of effectuate the same type of pressure by doing that. And Knowles loves the pressure looks. He loves to dial those up. He loves to call those. Ryan Day's just allowed him to do it now, and the result is what we're saying now. Will they give up some big plays on it? Undoubtedly, some teams they'll catch them at the right time. They'll hit them with a screen. They'll do something that the quarterback will break contain, and there'll be some big plays. But we're starting to rack up the tackles for losses. We're starting to rack up the sacks and some of the negative plays, and that's how Ryan Day wants to approach it. He wants to go out on his shield. The Oregon game was kind of a call to attention. They don't want to play that way anymore. They're not going to be passive. They're going to be aggressive, and that's what they feel like is going to be the difference that's going to carry them to the championship this year.
Yeah, I think that you look at. I'm going to get another one up here, a 3rd and long. This is another nice looking pressure package. Which, again, when you've got these long yardage situations, it's 3rd and 14. I know James is, he's down there and. You got to be screaming draw. You got to be screaming screen. Because you're 3rd and 14. This is a long way to make a throw when you've got this kind of pass rush. But they've got the 6-man up look right here. And again, you occupy your center by having Sonny kind of planted over him. Get Cody out on the edge, which I like. And then so what could happen is these guys get all straight rush, obviously, and overwhelm. It'd be 6-on-6 if he stays in. But instead, they do this move where basically JT comes up the field to occupy the tackle. You have your Russian here, and he basically has a two-way. And he basically, is going to occupy the guard. He's going to occupy the center. And then Cody's going to pick wherever he can find space to get through. So you see Cody, he puts his foot in the ground and runs this little game. You're up here, and then Cody's going to pick where's the free spot. And you do that with Sonny occupying the center so that the center doesn't turn his head. Now, they call a screen here, so you don't get to see a sack. But, you see the amount of pressure. Obviously, the O-line's getting rid of these guys so that they can get out and try to make some hay here on the screen. But, again, I like the pressure look because, again, if this is a drop back, Cody can wrap. Likely, he'd probably wrap all the way around and he'd get home because the center's not going to be there because Sonny's occupying him. So again, I love this stuff because I always look at it through the lens of being an offensive lineman, offensive line coach. How hard is this to switch? How hard is this to go against? And when you've got power and speed like Ohio State's guys do, like when you've got Jack and you put Tyleek in there and JT, and then you've got Cody, who I think is a fantastic blitzer because of his speed and his explosion and his want to get to the quarterback. So there's a lot of guys that can run fast, but can they really get through someone? Will they run through a running back? Because a lot of protections, you'll have a running back in the backfield, and he'll be the scan guy that'll pick up Cody. Cody will kill the guy. He'll run through him, and that's kind of the difference. He wants to get home. He wants to get to the quarterback, and Jim Knowles has identified that. Again, that's why I think Cody's playing as good as any linebacker in the country right now when I watch this tape. And I think that he, making him the featured blitzer has been good. Because again, he's got the speed, but he's got the explosion. That's why he reminds me so much of AJ. Because when AJ would wrap on some of the old blitzes that they used to run, that were these cross dogs, and we used to block him. We know that when AJ was rushing, he was a problem. He wasn't huge. AJ was probably maybe 235, 240-ish, but he could run. There's some guys that are like Schlegels was probably 255 and couldn't run like AJ could, so he had to always be a power rusher, but AJ could do both. And I always thought that was an interesting thing. It's a lot like Cody, in my opinion. Nevada, we've got some super chats, so we'll dig through some of these. I'm going to find the next pressure look. Actually, let me just see if I can find this real quick because this is going. But yeah, what are your thoughts on? Again, I think that the defense rotating guys and getting Mitchell Melton in there, getting Caden Curry with the punt block. Jack and JT only played 25 plays. What are your thoughts on the rotation? Because it's probably my favorite part of the entire game, other than the win, was just the way we rotated guys in, kept some of the tread on the tires for Jack and JT as we come down the stretch. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the backups were getting heavy playing time, and we talked about Edric Houston, but Edric Houston's going to be a big timer. He's going to be a big time player. You're talking about a player that, was somewhere between the 1 and 5, top 5 defensive player in the country last year, coming out of high school. And I just think the sky's the limit for a guy like that. And he creates such a matchup problems on the inside. They wanted to get him to the 3. They got him there. It took a Tyleek injury to do that. But, sometimes those things kind of open up those opportunities. But they played the heck out of him. They played a lot of Caden McDonald. They played a lot of Eric Canoe. They also played a lot of Caden Curry, Mitchell Melton. Everybody got snaps on the defensive line. I think Jack and JT only got 25, so under 30 snaps each, which is crazy for those two guys. But no, it's exciting. It's exciting watching the pressure packages. I just love to play that way. I think we all kind of grew up watching the Silver Bullets and Fred Puggage's defense, where they'd bring it from all different directions, and it was a lot of fun. I think Jim Knowles' defenses have been suffocating and they've been effective, but I'm not sure how much fun they've been to watch. But now this is fun. This is genuinely, as just a consumer, as a person enjoying the games, it's fun watching us play this way, and I think it suits our personnel better. And apparently. CJ Hicks made some comment afterwards on Twitter or something about he wants to be on the blank and edge or something like that. And I was thinking, man, CJ, you probably shouldn't be saying stuff on social media right now. But I think everybody wants to attack, but if you get put in a position to attack, then you got to close the deal. And CJ had a perfect kill shot, running free from the edge, and he missed. And so I just thought it was ironic that he'd be the guy complaining about playing on the edge, doing the thing. But it's fun. I like an attacking defense, and I think we've got the personnel to do it. And I think it's really, as you said, Cody Simon. Not everybody's a great blitzer. Not every linebacker is a great blitzer. But Cody Simon is. Cody Simon's a great blitzer. He can change direction. He's fluid enough to do it. And I think they're really finding something with bringing him on the pressure. And that's I think it's really one of the keys to the OSU defense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to show a clip of the of our beloved jack formation because it's interesting because like this thing, they have a good call against it. They run a little counterplay here where they pull the guard. But the looks are tough because we hadn't shown this. So Purdue had not practiced against this. So they probably didn't expect this to show up. So, the jack is it's Mitchell Melton right here. So he's 17. He's kind of a stand-up, walk-around guy. And we run a Blades stunt. Blades is basically edge here. And we bring Jordan Hancock off one edge. We bring Mitchell off another edge. So you basically get a 5-man front, with our pressure. And you've got CJ and Cody right here. And again, this looks productive. Again, they make a good call with this counterplay where, this pull guard has no idea where, because the end's got to pinch inside and occupy the tackle. So the pull guard has no idea that this guy's coming off the edge, and that's his guy. So again, if this is any sort of play action pass, Mitch Melton's putting this guy in the hospital, got a full charge. But again, you've got, and we always get him in the backfield here. So again, when you look at the photo of the jack right here, like this looks pretty good. I mean, we're good and solid here. Linebacker here, edge. And it's a different look. Now, the problem is Cody doesn't make the play. So Cody's right here in the hole, right here, and he's got to make this play. If you make this play, it's a 1-yard gain, and we're good. But Cody misses the tackle, bounces off of him, and that hurts us. So again, the rest of it is fit good. I mean, Kenyatta's good and physical here on the tackle. Love this. Pushes the tackle right into the hole, makes a big pile, which is great. And then, like our linebackers has to make a play. Our All-American linebacker, I'm not dogging Cody, but this is something where if he makes this play, then the jack looks a lot better. But he misses the tackle, and the guy gets a couple extra yards, and CJ drags him down. But again, I applaud them for putting it on tape and doing it because again, if done correctly, like when Jim Knowles did it at Oklahoma State, I studied it, and he had 56 sacks his last year, and the guy that was the jack was a really good player, and he plays for the Lions now, and he was all over the place, and I was like, this could be something that's really good. Now we ran it the first year, and I think that the problem with us versus Oklahoma State is like with Oklahoma State, that was their base defense. With us, we try to mix doing our regular nickel defense with a 4 down front with this jack front where you got 3 down. And, it's hard to do both. Like in the NFL, when there's an odd team like the Steelers that runs a 3-4 defense, like that's their defense. They don't do it as a change of pace. That's the world that they live in. Because the difference is that the linebackers, they got to basically, play with 2 gappers in front of them. A guy that has to, like the nose guard has to occupy the 2 A gaps. And then these linebackers, they've got guards that are uncovered that can come after them now. So it's a whole different mindset than when you've got 4 guys in front of you, the gaps are all covered up, and then you got to go pick your spots. So it's a different world. It's not a bad world, but I mean, it's just something that it takes a lot of repetitions in game action to get good at it. You can't just go out there and kind of wing it and hope that Cody and CJ can do it when they probably run it 10 or 15% of the time in practice this week versus the scout team. They don't really see any live bullets of it. They might have done a little bit in a scrimmage, but then you get out there and it's just not. It happens fast. So, but I like that they put it on tape. Again, like there was, it had a chance, and they called some plays that they gashed us a little bit, and people were down on it, but you could see the potential in it. Here's I gotta show this because this is our boy Mr. Edge. Our boy Mr. Edge right here. And I can't believe that CJ would say that, but again, nothing surprises me with these kids anymore. But here's our guy, Mr. Edge, CJ, who wants to be out on the edge. And, dude, make this play. I mean, this is a play that anybody in the stadium could make. I mean, you're literally unblocked, unaccounted for, and you miss. And it turns into the quarterback scrambling for a first down. So, I don't know. Like CJ isn't the guy that should be saying anything right now, because when we put him in, he's been a total liability. And I wish he wasn't. Like I said, the kid's 5-star, talented, explosive, but his instincts just don't exist. And again, I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you fix a linebacker that processes the play slowly. Because again, if I'm wrong, show me the film. Because again, he was in spring, the first day of spring, he was the starting middle linebacker, and he's so crestfallen that they barely put him in the game anymore. I mean, they put him in when it's Purdue, but they don't put him in versus Oregon. Your thoughts on that, Nevada? And we'll start getting into some super chats.
No, I mean, look, I nobody. This isn't personal about CJ, but we pride the show on being honest, and he's just not been good, and it's noticeable when he's in there how ineffective he's been. So, look, some guys pick it up later, and some guys start slow and then come on strong. I'm rooting for that to happen, and nobody wants him to break out and be effective. I do have to agree with him. I think he's probably his only path to the field is probably off the edge, because I've seen the kid's crazy athletic. He's fast. He's clearly strong. I think that's where they're gonna. If you're gonna get anything out of him, that's where you got to put him. But he just hasn't done it as of yet. But I remain hopeful. I've seen many a kid come to Ohio State, not do it in the beginning, and then figure it out down the road. So I'm hoping CJ can be one of those kids.
I mean, it's year 3. So I mean, if he's here next year, it's going to be as something. I mean, it's just the hard part for me is like when a kid says that he wants to play the edge. That usually means I want to be a pass rusher. I want to be third down specialist, or whatever. But like, you can't be Jack Sawyer and JT and play the run the first 2 downs, and then on third down and long, you have to come off the field so that some guy that can't play the run, he's not big enough to play the run, gets to come in and rush the passer. And like that's not fair. Because the problem with CJ is he's too small to play the edge. Like if he wants to go play the edge for real on first and second down, like he's gonna get massacred by a good tackle. They might be bad tackles, but like he's not real big. I mean, if you're an offensive coordinator with an IQ above 20, you're gonna run right at that guy. He's 225 pounds, 230 pounds maybe. So again, all that explosion and speed is great until they got to see you in the phone booth, and they got to you're gonna run zone right at him and knock him into the stands. So. Again, that's the problem with a guy like him is he's got to be a monster pass rusher, and he's not real tall, so he doesn't have long limbs. He's not going to have the length. That's why I think Sonny could potentially be that better, just because his arms are so long, and I think that helps a lot in pass rushing, just because you keep tackles away from you. This is the last one I'm going to show, and we'll get into the super chats. But this is the pressure package I loved. You've got guys occupying. You got a lot of threats here, and you got Jack out here. This is a thing that they're doing to feature Jack. I absolutely love it. You got Lathan in here, bringing the edge right up the middle, and you loop Jack inside. So this is where Lathan is a trooper, because he comes in here and he gets ACL. This guy puts his helmet right in his knee, which sucks. And then Jack's the guy who's the free guy, misses initially, redirects, gets half a sack by touching the guy as he falls down. But I'll show you the end zone shot of it. But this is great. So, you look at the kind of, this is what we talk about with the selflessness of pass rushing. And I think that's Sonny. I believe that's Sonny. Yeah, that's Sonny. So you got Sonny up here. He's a threat. You got Sonny right here. And then you've got, looks like 1. You've got Sonny, Jack, and you've got, is that Lathan? I think it's Lathan. Yeah, so you're coming up to basically attack away from the slide side. So you see the slide side. So these guys are basically sliding out here. 1, 2, 3. So he's got him, A gap, B gap, C gap. He's going to punch here and release, and he's going to take him in man coverage. But then over here, this is the side that you want to attack is the man side, where these guys are manned up, and then basically you're putting the back on him, that's treacherous when that's Sonny, because Sonny's not a regular linebacker, because he's like 250 pounds and he's 6'5". So I mean, when you put your little scat back third down guy on him, it could be problems. So, but what they do here, what Jim Knowles does, which is great, and again, this is why pass rush is a lot of sacrifice. It's not just Reggie White hump move, Von Miller spin move, and quarterback goes down. It's sacrifice. So he's sacrificing himself by picking the tackle. He's picking this guard, trying to occupy the back. The back steps up to block him. His job is to pick him and free Jack. And Jack is the guy he's the guy that gets to win the lottery and get the sack right here. Because basically Jack, this is drawn up for Jack to get the sack. This is his matchup. Now he misses him. The guy puts a little move on him, trips up, but then Sonny gets loose and gets a piece from him too. But again, this is very difficult to go against because, when you're these two and you got to switch off, basically you got to do a 3-man switch and he's got to somehow end up on the back, which is going to be a terrible matchup because if Jack's running full steam at 45 is going to die. But you see, again, a lot of it is just confusing these guys. So you see the confusion with the twist. He's trying to pass it off and he can't get there. So again, you end up having, they're trying to both switch it because this is a misassignment on both, and they both end up free. So again, the confusion is as important as the overall power and performance of the pass rush. Just confusing the offensive line and the pass protection leads to pressure. And again, that's why we're doing more of this because it's hard to go against. Again, like I tell you guys this because when I watch film, which I do every night, usually I'm up pretty late and I'm watching Georgia, Texas, I watch us, I watch our All-22 tape and I'll break it down and I'll sit there and I'll say, this is easy to go against. This is hard to go against. I wish we did this. And that's really hard to go against. Now, how can they change that? They can switch up who goes where next week. They can run to the other side. But that's a great scheme. And again, I like stuff that's hard to go against by our defense. And again, that was something that I used to love, like in training camp when we would go against our defense. When in 05, the best defense that I ever saw was when we had AJ senior year with Schlegel and Bobby Carpenter and Kudla and those guys and Quinn Pitcock and Dante Whitner, and they would run some really exotic stuff. And it would get us. And we had Nick Mangold, who's the smartest center probably in Ohio State history. And Rob Sims, 8-9 year NFL guy. Dadish was an NFL guy. I was an NFL guy. TJ Downing was a second team All-American. So we had a good line. And they would get us on stuff, and that was with Troy Smith and Pittman, who's an NFL. We had all NFL guys. And they'd get us on stuff, and I'd be like, it sucks that they're getting us, but wait till they run this against Texas and Miami of Ohio and because they get all those guys too. So it wasn't like it was, obviously you want to pick everything up, but when they're running some really crazy stuff that's really good and it's sound, then great. I'm glad because I can't wait to be sitting on the bench in the horseshoe when the offense is off the field and our defense is out there. I get to watch on the jumbotron, I get to watch AJ. It's like, oh, I remember when they ran that against us. Yep, we did the same thing. We missed it and got a sack, and they're off the field, and it's time to punt and go and score a touchdown. So, yeah, I love the stuff we're doing. Again, I think that the guys took a nice step this week. We'll dig into some Super Chats. So, all right, Nevada, the Super Chats are starting to pile up. We appreciate you guys, as always, for kicking it. Chad Russell, thank you for the 10. Went to the Penn State whiteout game yesterday. I was a little jealous of their atmosphere. We need to step it up in the shoe. Nevada, hashtag Go Bucks. Nevada. The whiteout, it's interesting yesterday because, the new network thing that's going on where we're on NBC and Peacock and Fox. I think 90% of the country had no idea there was a whiteout yesterday because they get relegated to Peacock. So most people aren't going to switch to the Peacock app unless they have to. So I hate Penn State with a passion. I think they're a bunch of douchebags, but I felt bad for them yesterday because that's like their big pride and joy thing, and they kind of got screwed because the Big Nooner relegated that to being the Washington Huskies game that they don't care about, and there's no rivalry there, and it was put on the Peacock. But what are your thoughts on the whiteouts? I think the whiteout is it's a really cool thing. I played in it twice, coached in it once, but for it to get relegated to Peacock is that amusing to you? Is it kind of funny to you?
Yeah, it's what I feel about noon games in general, and I understand why Fox does it. I understand from a business standpoint, I get all of those things, but I can hate it. I just think it's the atmosphere to noon game is just not the same as it is a later game. Certainly not what it is other times. And when you have these premier games, they should be in those situations. And so for them to have a whiteout on a streaming service like Peacock, and it's not their big Ohio State game, it's the Washington game, yeah, I think I think that unfortunately that's the future of college football, but it does make me a little sad.
If you ran the world and ran college football, I mean, I'm sure that in your head you'd be thinking, why don't we make the Fox game the big, like, Saturday night, whatever, Saturday Night Fever, Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Slam Masters, like whatever you want to call it. Because, like, don't you think that would be the prudent strategy? Because, like, usually the Big Ten is usually the best Big Ten game. That's their strategy. And I just feel like, man, it's like putting it at noon, like when you think about sporting events, like nighttime is when all the magic happens. Like when you like watch the World Series and you watch college football playoffs and you watch the NBA finals, like it's always at night. There's always a lot of build up and energy. And, I can't remember how many times I've seen an environment from a noon game where like in the history of college football, I've never like looked at a noon game environment and been like, wow, that looks way better than if it was at night, And again, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I feel like the SEC dominates us when it comes to decisions like this because, like yesterday, their big game was Alabama LSU, which obviously Alabama smashed LSU, but the buildup was substantial. Death Valley, night game, college game day, drunk Cajuns everywhere. And obviously the environment didn't help LSU because they got smashed, but like the start of that game, it was pretty live, until Alabama ran through them. But I think that the Big Ten sucks at marketing. I truly believe that. I think that they obviously, we were blessed by God that Oregon was on the West Coast and they didn't have a choice and they had to make that kind of a night game. It was like a 3:30 kick West Coast, but they literally couldn't make it a noon game. So I'm sure they were dying to make that a big noon too, but it'd be, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. But yeah, I think we missed the boat in a big way. I think that it sucks that our biggest games in the Big Ten are noon games. And I think that this conference just, it hurts us. I really think it hurts us. And I think that in recruiting, the biggest thing is I look at it, when you're really trying to compete against the South in the recruiting, perspective, like if you're trying to get kids from Florida, Georgia, Texas, it's a lot easier for them to get up to a big Ohio State game if it's at 7:30, 8 o'clock, if it's not a noon game. Because a lot of these kids, especially early in the season, like they have no chance if they're from Florida because they got to usually watch film in the morning or whatever. So, it's just tough. I don't know. Like I hate that like the Penn State whiteout was relegated to Peacock, and unless you're a Penn State fan, you didn't even know that it happened. And I mean, but the environment's intense. But the thing that's always illuminating to me when I see like the Penn State versus Washington thing is like there's videos of James Franklin coming out of the tunnel and they play Phil Collins in the air tonight and they play right into the little Zombie Nation little medley that they like to play. But you could tell that team. They were kind of like artificially excited because they weren't seeing the Buckeyes. Because like the Buckeyes coming to town, it's like the Beatles coming to town, and Washington, it's they're a cruise ship band, and Penn State is like Hanson, and then we're like the Beatles. So when the Beatles come to town, everyone gets excited. The stadium's filled up, and the energy's there. And I mean, I read things today about Penn State fans complaining that it wasn't Ohio State and they weren't as excited because again, they know who the show is and they know who sells the tickets and they know who really brings the heat, and again, it's like Urban Meyer used to always say, it's a big game because we made it one, because Ohio State made it one, not because Penn State. And it's true. I mean, everywhere we go, man, we're the biggest game of the season and we're the one that all of the donors and the development people point to. Hey, we got Ohio State at home this year. I can get you tickets to it, so I don't know. But again, for the environment in college football, it sucked, man. Penn State, Pooh Beard 12, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being ultra member as well. When fans are nitpicking / dissenting the incomplete pass of a quarterback who completed 80% of his throws, Nevada, I think we're doing just fine. Nevada, if only we had, what's the quarterback from Georgia? It's not Glenn Beck. Will Beck? What's his name? Beck, is he like the singer Beck? Carson Beck. If we had Carson Beck at quarterback, would be way better because he's good. And I just watched Cooper Rush in the NFL. If we had him, we'd be good. But Will Howard, according to some people, will never be good. I mean, I hope he wins the national championship and wins the MVP and stands up at the podium and says, this is for the 3% of the dumbest part of Ohio State's fan base who says, I can't throw the deep ball and I'm not any good. Nevada, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's I'll read about like how he missed on his one deep shot yesterday. It's like, by missed you mean put it right in Carnell Tate's hands, right in his stomach. Yeah, it was a little bit underthrown, but it wasn't. He didn't miss him. I mean, Carnell Tate just dropped the ball. But yeah, that's where we're at. I think this this kind of stuff. It's funny when you see. Because you don't get the reactions from the players or from the coaches, but when you see the families, when you see like, Jim Knowles' sister reacting to stuff on social media, or Will Howard's, if you get to know Will Howard's family or you're talking to anybody close to Will, I can tell you the one thing they're shocked by is the vitriol with which the fan base attacks him, man. I'm telling you what, they really are kind of taken aback by the whole thing. So it's just, I don't know, guys. He was 21 of 26. He had 5 incompletions, and yeah, when it's to the point where, like, so when you have so few incompletions, you're literally dissecting everyone, why that wasn't a completion to, and why he wasn't 100%. And I'm just not even sure what the standard is anymore, because it seems like it's some impossible standard, because people keep talking about CJ Stroud. Well, we were spoiled by CJ Stroud or by Justin Fields or Dwayne Haskins. None of those guys ever completed passes at the rate that he's completing passes. So it's like, you can say what you want, but like, let's forget his rushing. Let's forget his 6 rushing TDs and the other stuff he does. But like, just from a passing standpoint, I think I'm not sure what his passing rating is. Right? I think it's like 179.9 or something like that now, which is really good, which is really, really good. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of resigning myself that some people are just never going to be happy. They got to have something to complain about. So yeah, it's the 5 incompletions that Will threw yesterday is going to be. Now they are saying that he doesn't know how to run and he doesn't know how to cut, so he keeps slipping on the field. That's his other. He's got that big problem too. He's the only one who slips on the field. So we got that. And your rumor that you started about the band doing it got debunked too, Kirk. So the band has been cleared.
I mean, the band has a Twitter profile and they show them practicing on the field right outside the stadium. So it's like, I mean, like, Joel Klatt or Trent Klatt or whatever his name is, like, I just don't understand how you can be so stupid, or what moron said that, the band is out there and that's why the field's there. I was like, no, again, I don't know what it is. I'm not the field turf guy. I don't know if it's because we have, like I said, if I ask you to surmise, is it because we have concerts on there where they put wood on it and 1,000 chairs everywhere and everyone sits on it for 2 straight days. I have no clue. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me. I'm done playing. But I know when I played, we didn't slip all over the field. So something's changed. And again, it's not like Nike invented new cleats. Like, I mean, they might be a little different color and different moldings, but they have the same plastic stud cleats that we wore. So, and again, I used to love the turf because I always felt like I could really dig into it and run, especially when we do conditioning drills. Like, you guys don't understand how much easier it is to run on turf than grass. Soft grass versus fast turf. I mean, when you have to run timed conditioning runs, like that turf, you take that turf every day of the week. It's hot as hell, but I just don't know. Like I said, like I've seen Brandon Ennis fall down on a punt return where it looked like he slipped on a banana peel. And so it's just, like when Will falls down, and again, we'll watch it against Indiana and one of our guys will slip and fall. And, again, because I've seen surfaces that have been bad. Like the 06 Michigan game surface was terrible. Every game that is played at Arizona Stadium with the Cardinals, where we play against Florida, that's the worst field in the world. I mean, you saw when Trevor Lawrence had an 80-yard run against us and our guys were flying all over the place and slipping all over the place. Like, I don't know, but they got to fix it. I mean, but the problem is like those concerts are big money generators. Like they're big revenues. Like that's why they have Buckeye Country Concert. That's why they have all these random, Morgan Wallen and whatever. And again, I'm not mad about it. Like, I think the concerts are fun, and they're going to have the Winter Classic there with the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings. But, you know, when you put all that stuff on artificial turf, like I think it hurts it. Again, I don't know what else it could be, because we have the same turf as most teams. Now, the turf that we have.
Kirk, I'm telling you, and this is all kidding aside. I heard it from on very good authority that the turf that they have has too many pebbles in it, and that they're actually making a thing to try to remove about a third of the. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke.
Really?
It's got too many. It's got too much of that ground tire in it, and they're going to try to remove about a third of the ground tire from the. They do this big rolling thing that rolls and picks up some of the stuff on like a giant, almost like a lint roller that's going to try to lift some of that stuff out of it. All kidding. That is absolutely true. Too many pebbles on the field. I'm not kidding.
Seriously, that's where we're at now.
Well, it's a something, Kirk. It's not a joke. Like, you see it, man. It's like ice skating.
I know. Like, I mean, like, Brandon Ennis any good? He's a 5-star wide receiver, number 1 receiver in the country. And I saw him slip on a part, and I told him, I was like, dude, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. You're wide open spaces right in front of him, and he just falls on his face, like he's like literally like he's on an ice surface, you know. God. So is that a nugget? Is that going to be a nugget for us?
I put that on the board. I asked me that. I answered that question on the board. That too many pebbles. I'm telling you.
You know what we really honestly need to do? I think we need to comb the beach. At that point, what movie, Nevada? Do you know?
We need to comb the beach. Don't know.
Have you ever seen Spaceballs?
Yeah, I've seen Spaceballs. I have seen Spaceballs.
There's our ground screw. There's comb the beach.
Yes.
We gotta comb the beach. Oh my God!
Your intern that's writing all this stuff for you has been working overtime on this stuff, man. I tell you, you've been just like killing it lately. Give him a raise, man.
My intern is called Mick Ultra, and he's really smart. Really smart. You know, Mick Ultra. So you guys send your super chats to Mick Ultra. He's a really good writer. Sean, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Trying hard to take IU seriously, but can't get there. Am I wrong? Talent differential is so drastic. I think it's a pull away early in the fourth quarter type of game. It's only going to be a game if we make it one. You know, if we want to go out there and screw around and you know, treat them like they're old Indiana. Because again, you have to understand. I've seen this movie before. They're going to be. It's not even their Super Bowl. This is like their galactic conquest. This is bigger than the Super Bowl. Like, this is the biggest game in program history. When they come to the Horseshoe, they'll be top 10, undefeated, coming to the Shoe. They're going to come see us. And I don't know if this guy would sell his soul, but I'm sure he would to win this game. Like, he wins this game, man. He's going to have a lifetime contract at whatever university he wants in the nation if he beats the Ohio State Buckeyes with Indiana. But again, at some point, you know, the chickens are going to come home to roost. Because again, our guys are going to be angry. Because again, when someone thinks that they're the champs and then we're really the champs. And again, the difference between us and them is that they didn't have to play Oregon. They didn't play Penn State yet. I mean, I think Penn State would beat Indiana. I think Oregon would kill Indiana. But they've dodged them. So again, thank God for whoever their schedule maker is the biggest Indiana Hoosier fan of all time, because he got him to this point where people think that they're really something. But again, I think that, you know, if they played Georgia, Bama, Texas, you know, Oregon, us, Penn State, I mean, we'd all, I think, beat them pretty handily. You know, as long as we don't give it up. You know, I mean, if you turn the ball over and you screw around and poor special teams, then yeah, they can stay in the game. But if we play a clean game like we did yesterday, it's going to be maybe not as drastic of a score, because I think that they've got some offense, but our guys will be fired up for this. I mean, again, when our guys, the good thing is, you know, when we play these big matchup games versus, you know, Penn State and Oregon, our guys are generally pretty tuned up. Now, Penn State didn't start off how we dreamed. We're down 10-0 in the first quarter, but, you know, our guys righted the ship and corrected the energy and ended up, you know, getting a nice win on the road. Now, the difference is this is going to be in the Shoe, and it's the second to last home game, and, you know, we're going to have a top 10 team. We're going to have Michigan. So this is the biggest 2-game home stretch in Ohio State history to end a season. Like, I can't remember us playing a top 10 team the week before Michigan. Normally we've got a Northwestern or whatever. So I'm excited for these guys. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Sean, thank you for the 10. He says, trying hard to take IU seriously, but can't get there. Am I wrong? Talent differential is so drastic. I think it's a pull away early type in the fourth quarter type of game. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I agree. I think look, they're a good team, and they've got 2 weeks to prepare, so they're gonna pull out every stop, and they're gonna try every trick play, they're gonna change everything they can. But we're just more talented. I mean, it would take a series of unfortunate events for them to even stay close in the game, which can happen. We've all seen it. We've all watched enough football to know that anything's possible. But yeah, the guys are going to be jacked. And I think the only way this game really could have been a problem would have been if we weren't paying attention to them and if the game was in Bloomington. If those two things happened, then maybe, just maybe, they sneak up on you. But the second to last home game, it's hard to imagine the Buckeyes being anything but sky high for the game. And I'll correct you, they're not a top 10 team. They're a top 5 team. So we're talking about a top 5 team coming into the shoe, undefeated top 5 team coming to the shoe. If you're not ready for that, then Ryan Day really should give back his salary, and the guys should turn back in their scholarship money, because what else? Why do you come here other than to play games like this?
Yeah, I agree. Dan Welch, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Problem for us, if we win out, we move to the number 1 seed and Oregon gets the 5 spot. Nevada OH.
Oh,
I mean, it's a good problem to have. I'm fine with being the 1 seed too. I mean, as long as we make the playoffs, I don't really care. I mean, I prefer 1 or 5, and so that's part of it. If we beat Oregon, we're going to be the 1 seed, and again, I'm good being the 1 seed. I mean, we're already going to be the dragon everybody wants to slay, so you might as well just put the crown on our heads and make it even tougher. So, let's be the 1 seed. I'm good with it. Nevada, your thoughts on if we went out and beat Oregon in the Big Ten title game, we move to the 1 seed and Oregon's 5 spot. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I actually think that's what's going to happen. But like you said, high quality problems. At least in that situation, you get that first round bye. What you just really want to avoid is having to play in your conference championship game and then not getting a bye, and because then you really are putting yourself at a disadvantage, especially at that time of the year. Just having more wear and tear on the guys. But hey, what's going to happen is going to happen. It's got to take it one game. Let's beat Northwestern by a point, and then beat Indiana by a point, and then beat Michigan by 100.
Russ Stallard, thanks for the 5. I know Ryan Day has his critics, but he always beats the teams he's supposed to. It was good to see the young guys get in the game. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that? I'll let you go first on this one.
Funky Buck put a thing on there. Ryan Day's 45 years old. I mean, he's 45. So if we treated him right, and he could be around here for a really long time. So it's like, we've got the good. I really think the reason Ryan Day will ultimately leave Ohio State is just the weight of the weight of unrealistic expectations of being here, and I think that more than anything will be the reason that he'll leave. So all the stuff, all the pressure, the demanding perfection, the never allow you to slip up, never allow you to have. I mean, heck, we're at the point now where we can't have a bad series. We can't have a bad play. We can't allow teams to make a first down without people losing their minds. And that's the kind of stuff that's going to chase Ryan Day away. But hey, I'm going to enjoy him while he's here. He's a young guy. Could be here for a really long time. It could be dynastic. So I'm going to enjoy every minute while he's here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the thing that'll drive him away is the fan base just being insane, and it just being so unreasonable and so pressure packed. Where in the NFL, if you lose by 1, you're still in the league. But if you lose by 1 to Oregon on the road, last second bad call, then you could have the cops stay outside your house to make sure that nobody breaks in. You get death threats and some of the psychosis that comes with being the coach. But I think that he's got a good thing going here, minus the fact he can't ever lose a game, which is, that grates on you. And be interesting to see what NIL and recruiting looks like over the next few years when they legislate some of the stuff out and they make it all more streamlined. And if they're if it grows into being, a true NFL type 36 or 48 team super conference, like how does that affect them? So, but one thing I know for sure is that if Ryan Day got fired by Ohio State, he'd be out of work for about 3 seconds and he'd have a great job real quick. And it'd be either in the NFL or it'd be one of the top, 10 jobs in college, because I think he does a good job. And again, I think that I watch terrible coaching in the NFL every week. And I watched the Chicago Bears hire Matt Eberflus, so I think he's all right. But when you invest all of that into Caleb Williams and you've got a defensive, you got a linebacker as your head coach, wouldn't it make sense to spend a lot of money and get the best quarterback developer in the world right now to be your head coach? It's just my opinion. Because again, if you say, Kirk, you get to build a creative character head coach, if I have 100 attribute points, I probably am putting all 100 into quarterback development. Because if you can have a good quarterback, and again, you look at the step Will Howard's made from last year to this year, it is seismic how good he is playing right now. Because again, he's got Ryan coaching him, he's got Chip coaching him as well. But Ryan being able to really develop a quarterback is what's taken this program to, a higher level. When you talk about CJ, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, we didn't have, we obviously had Troy win the Heisman. Troy, was a kind of a mid-round pick in the NFL, but we didn't have top 10 guys like we did with Justin and with CJ. And I think that our boy, I think Will's going to have a really nice career in the NFL. I don't know what his, I don't know what his, where his floor is, but my God, do you guys watch NFL football? Maybe you guys don't watch NFL football, but I watch Cooper Rush and I watch Caleb Williams, and I know Caleb Williams is number one, and he's got black fingernail paint on, and he's supposed to be great, but he's the guy that's gonna get coached. Anthony Richardson was Anthony Richardson was the 3rd pick in the draft last year, and he's done. They benched him for a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, and it's on a team that's not even going anywhere right now. So, again, I know that nobody thinks that Will Howard can play, but I watch guys that are worse than him every Sunday. And I'm not saying he's better than Caleb Williams. Because obviously Caleb Williams is on a bad program and whatever. But, Will can get rid of the ball. He can avoid the pass rush. And again, the guys I talk to that are literally NFL personnel directors, they say he'll be a very good NFL quarterback. He'll be a great backup. His mentality's there. If we need him to win some games in a stretch, if a quarterback gets hurt, he can do that. But again, nobody thought Tom Brady was going to be the greatest player of all time when he went in the 6th round. So, again, it all comes down to, do you go to a good organization? Do they believe in you? Because I think Will's going to have a long NFL career. I might be in the minority in that one. I might be the only one that thinks that. But he does stuff the right way. You can tell he's the leader of the team. He's the guy that Ryan Day puts in front of the podium over everybody. We've had guys like Emeka and Trey and Jack Sawyer and all these guys. They've been in the program for 4 years. The only guy that meets with the media consistently on Tuesday is Will Howard, the guy who's been here for, 11 months. And he's the face of the franchise. So again, that's not some accident. And it's not just because he's the quarterback. It's because he's sharp, and he's a guy that knows what he's doing. He's an insane competitor. And I think he's got a really good, he's got a big upside. So again, I don't know. I like the Day Howard thing, and I'm going to enjoy it for the next few months until it is completely gone. Gabe Gaines, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 10. So I brought up playing Illinois yearly again like a month ago. Looks like, according to the records, they were a yearly rival with the exception of a few years. Thought that was interesting. Nevada OH. Well, Illinois is the only trophy game that we have. It's the Illabuck Trophy, and I never thought of Illinois as a rival because they're not next to us. Obviously Michigan's our rival, obviously. Penn State was always kind of an interesting kind of secondary rival because we used to have the Big 33 All-Star game, which was a high school football game, which was probably the best high school All-Star game there was before the Army game took off. And it was Ohio versus Pennsylvania, and they had this streak where every single Super Bowl had a member of the Big 33 playing it for like the first 45 or whatever. It's probably not like that anymore because Ohio's not a part of it anymore, which is crazy. But when I played, that was a big time game. That was all the best players from Ohio State played in it versus all the best players from Penn State, and We actually were voted, the team I was on was voted the best Big 33 team of all time. We beat them 38-7. It was a blast. But I never thought of Illinois as a rival. They beat us in 07, which still sucks because that was my senior day. But, they're not adjacent to us on the map. We never really think about them. So, but that is interesting. And I always could never understand why that was our only trophy game, with the Illinois trophy. Because, you'd think we'd have one for the Michigan game or for the Penn State game or someone that was at least nearby. And we never really recruited against Illinois either. They had that little run where they had Loxley and they got Vontae Davis and they got some really good players. But other than that, we never really saw those guys too much. But Nevada, what are your thoughts on Illinois as a rival and playing them annually? I just don't. I'm as big of a former player historian as there is, and I've never thought of them like that. But am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. They're. Look, they're just. Yeah, now with the expanded Big Ten and the way that the Big Ten is going to continue to expand because they're not done, you're going to see teams like Illinois once every 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, I don't think there'll ever be a traditional rivalry. So the Illabuck may have to go the way of the dodo, and we need more trophies though. We need to do our own little trophy for the the Michigan game. Like the little Sharon Moore duck or something like that. Do that.
Fat Albert buck.
Fat Albert buck.
A Fat Albert trophy. I think that, when I think about teams that were kind of unnatural rivals, we have there's a little bit of a rivalry with Wisconsin. When, the late 90s when they beat us with Brooks Bollinger and Rob Reynolds, we went up there and choked it up in 03 and Rob Reynolds choked the quarterback and stuff. That was a pretty spicy rivalry for a little bit because Wisconsin had our number for a little bit, and it's so funny because the thing that I know that I can always hang my hat on with the morons that run the TV networks is most of the teams we play in the Big Ten we just beat the tar out of year over year. But if they've beaten us in the last 20 years, I promise you that they'll show that. I would have bet my house and all of my future earnings that they were going to show the 2018 Purdue game that was from 6 years ago. And they're going to show it, and this was the night when not Dorian Bryant, Rondell Moore had 200 yards and whatever, and we lost, and that's just how it is. They'll show, when we play Wisconsin, they'll show the game from 14 years ago when they beat us and we were one in the country, and when we play Illinois, they'll show the game from 07 when they beat us. Because again, these teams never beat us; they beat us once every 20 years. So when we play Northwestern, it's funny when we play Northwestern, they'll probably show the 04 game. Northwestern hasn't beaten us since my redshirt freshman year, and they'll probably show highlights from that game because, in 04, we showed up and Northwestern was. This is how bad we were, folks. And again, I wish that there was a way I could build a time machine. I'm going to call Elon and say, build me a time machine where I can send the worst and dumbest portion of our fan base back to 04 and make them relive that year over and over again. When we were. I think we were 3-0, and we lost to a 1-2, they had a losing record when we lost to them. I think it might have been 1-3. I think we were 3-1, and they were 1-3. We went out to Northwestern, and we lost to the Northwestern Wildcats. And I wish that the bad part of our fan base could just relive that year where we lost. We were 3-3, and we couldn't. We played Illinois, or we played Iowa, and I think we ran the ball 30 times for 26 yards. A sweltering 0.4 yards or 0.8 yards or 0.85 yards. It was something terrible, but it's I get off my soapbox right there. But I do love that no matter how long ago it was that a team beat us, they have to show it on TV. They have to relive it. It has happened before, folks. Keep tuned into our broadcast because Wisconsin beat Ohio State 15 years ago, one time. So make sure you stay tuned in because you just never know what could happen. Pooh12, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being an ultra member. Would the jack be best in obvious pass situations? I don't think so. I like the stuff we're doing right now with the 4 down and using Cody as kind of an ad guy with Sonny. I don't know. I don't like the 3 down looks because I think it's too easy to block guys when they're head up. I want my defensive ends on the outside shoulder of the tackles. I don't want them tighter like they have to do in the jack. The jack, that 3 down, you put, when you've got a nose guard like Tyleek, or we were using Cade McDonald. I was going to call him 98. We're using him as the nose this week. I just think that it's too easy to block. I like the 4-down stuff where we're mixing guys all over the place. I thought that was better. Your thoughts about it? Would the jack be best in obvious pass situations?
I mean, maybe. I mean, we'll put it this way. I think it's better than the way it was used there. I mean, I think that, if you have two stand-up, I mean, if you're blitzing a guy from the other side and basically you're almost playing like a bear front with 5 guys and you're bringing 5 guys with 2 stand-ups on the outside, not the worst thing in the world. But look, I think that the jack, they just got to get better at the jack because right now they're just not good at it.
Yeah, I just don't think that, like I said, it's hard to get good at something that you're going to use 5% of the time. That's like I don't know. Like I like the thought of it, but if you don't fully do it, it's really hard to just kind of dabble in it. And again, that's just my opinion because, again, when teams run against us when we're in the jack, they gash us. And I'm not talking about a good Wisconsin team. I'm talking about like Purdue, who couldn't run for 5 yards against us in our normal stuff, but we go into the jack and they just shred us. So, again, this is my opinion. Sean Rollins, thank you for being a great mod. Thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 20, my friend. Happy Veterans Day to you. I love your AVI with the American flag on it. Appreciate you, my dude. I can't see. I think that might be Iwo Jima. My eyes are really bad, but I appreciate you, brother. I hope you're doing good. W. Buckeye, thank you for the 10. The fans that cannot see how good Howard is are missing out on a kid that is having fun. He loves what he's doing. I don't want to be the dead horse, but McCord never slipped because he was a statue. That's a good point. I mean, I guess if you can't run and you're slow as molasses, then you probably aren't going to ever be slipping anywhere. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, after watching Kyle throw 5 interceptions and 3 pick sixes in one game, man, I'm just glad we turned the page. And I think that Syracuse coach that was asking for that bottle of champagne for Ryan Day or whatever it is better keep it for himself and drink all of it and add it more.
I mean, I was going to send him a bottle of Andre from Buckeye Scoop. That's that $7.99 that you get at Walmart. You can use it as antifreeze too. I think it's champagne / antifreeze. That bottle of Andre, I'll get that for. It's funny because as soon as that guy said that, like it was like he jinxed Kyle, and now Kyle's back to being Kyle and stinking all over again. Tummy Tom, Tummy Tom 10. I've never seen that name before, but thank you. Thanks for the deuce. Please don't give Georgia credit for that schedule. Okay. I won't. I think it's a hard schedule, but I could be crazy. Nevada, am I wrong for giving Georgia credit for that schedule? Or maybe he means like because the schedule makers made it. Because again, I think it's hard. I mean, you got to go to Tuscaloosa, I just think if it was Ohio State and we had to go to Alabama, to Texas, play Tennessee at home, Florida at a neutral site, like that would be hard, in my opinion. Like if we had a year where we had to go to Texas and to Bama, that's not fun. Then you have to go play Ole Miss, who's got really good talent on their squad. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I just think it's just karma because their schedule, like I believe last year, was one of the most ridiculously easy schedules I've ever seen.
Exactly.
So it just goes around, comes around, and so I believe me. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing up. This is a nice long one tonight. I appreciate you guys kicking it. Nevada, any final thoughts?
No, just going to be a fun week. A little Northwestern game, and then get ready for mighty Indiana, biggest game in the history of their program coming up. But I'm going to be interested to see what kind of wrinkles Ohio State puts in for this week for Northwestern, just to kind of get people more stuff to watch. And excited for every game, and can't wait to see the game in Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I can't either. It's going to be a blast. So that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys kicking all this on your Sunday night. The Texans are kicking it off with the Lions right now, so enjoy some Sunday night football. We'll be back in at 7 tomorrow. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, your likes and subscriptions are always huge to us. Again, the best thing you can do for us right now, I'm telling you, is subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It's completely free. Type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. It's absolutely huge for us, and we just appreciate you guys continuing to help grow our platform completely free. So again, thank you for the support. Spread the good word of Buckeye Scoop as we head into the holiday season. If you guys want a great Christmas gift, I'm telling you, Buckeye Scoop, a membership to Buckeye Scoop is great for your favorite Ohio State fan because our site it's crazy right now. It's so fun, and we're just really excited about all of the growth that we're experiencing right now on the site. We appreciate you guys. We're breaking records right now as we head into Well, it's going to be a magical 3-month stretch. I just can't wait to see how November unfolds with December into January. It's going to be an absolutely huge and a huge and fun time. So I'm really excited for it. So that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday night. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7. Go Bucks.